Hi, good evening, everyone. We will give it just another couple minutes for anyone who might be running late or might be having technical difficulties in joining in. Okay, we are a few minutes past 6 o'clock. I will go ahead and get started. I would like to welcome everyone to this public workshop to discuss the Chino Basin Improvement and Groundwater Cleanup Project. My name is Jesse Pompa. I'm with the Inland Empire Utilities Agency, or IEUA. For those unfamiliar with IEUA, we provide recycled water and wastewater treatment services for 7 cities and 2 retail agencies regionally. This project is near and dear to me because not only have I been involved with the project for nearly a decade, I'm also a resident of Eastvale, so this is a local project that literally hits home for me. Now, as has become apparent by now, I'm sure this workshop is being held virtually due to public health concerns and restrictions on gatherings at both the county and state levels. I have no doubt that we'll be able to provide all the information necessary in the virtual format, and we'll also be able to answer any questions that you may have once the presentation is complete. A couple logistics to go through before we get to the project information. I would ask all attendees, please send an email with your name and city of residence to info@ieua.org, either during or following the presentation. I want to be clear that by sending this email, you're not signing up to receive any follow-up emails unless, of course, you ask us a question that requires a response. Our project team would simply like to identify and track the interest in the project. Should you have any questions as we move through the presentation, please utilize the Q&A feature on the upper right-hand side of your screen. We have a moderator that will be organizing all the responses to the questions after the presentation is complete. I would also ask that if you do submit a question, please submit your name as well. Now, given that we might have some attendees watching on smaller screens on their cell phones, and also just to avoid any potential Wi-Fi connection issues, I'm going to be turning my camera off, and that way we can see the slides a little bit bigger, and we'll just be seeing the slides moving through the presentation from this point forward. Now, this project has required a great deal of collaboration and coordination between public agencies. I wanted to highlight a handful of those agencies here to give a general overview of the responsibilities on the project. IEUA is the agency responsible for ensuring that the project gets implemented. The Chino Basin Desalter Authority, or CDA, is a joint powers authority that manages the production, treatment, and distribution of high-quality drinking water in the region. The CDA is managing the construction of the project and will oversee its operation. Our moderator for the Q&A tonight is Cindy Miller, who is the consultant for CDA. The project is subject to local regulatory oversight, which is provided by the Santa Ana Regional Water Quality Control Board. The regional board has been instrumental in shaping this project and ensuring the cleanup goals are being achieved. And finally, this project would not be possible were it not for funding received from both the federal and state levels. In addition to Title 16 funding from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, or USBR, the project also received funding from a Proposition 1 grant from the state of California. As such, we've been working closely with staff from both USBR and the State Water Resources Control Board throughout the project implementation. In addition to these agencies, project also received support from the cities of Ontario and Upland, so it truly has been a collaborative effort. Now, with introductions out of the way, I'd like to start with some project history. The first question that you might be asking is, what is the cleanup project actually cleaning up? The project will address groundwater that has been affected by the South Archibald Plume, which is generally located along Archibald Avenue between the 60 Freeway and Belgrave Avenue. The east and west boundaries of the plume roughly align with Grove and Turner Avenues. The constituent in this plume is trichloroethylene, or TCE, which was a very commonly used cleaning solvent in many industries 50 plus years ago. In the 1970s, environmental concerns were raised regarding the potential effects of exposure of TCE, and as a result, TCE was banned from being used as a solvent any further. However, as a result of decades of use, a specific area of groundwater, approximately 2,000 acres in size, has been found to be polluted with TCE. Now, what's very important to note is that no customers within our region have been delivered water with TCE in it. While there were private wells in the area prior to the detection of TCE, those private wells were shut down upon the regional board's detection of the contamination, and alternative water supply sources are being provided. Now, that being said, this groundwater can serve as a viable, completely safe source of drinking water with the right treatment, and that's exactly what the project is setting out to do. Now, I mentioned that the regional board has been instrumental in the project's implementation. In 2016, the regional board issued a cleanup and abatement order, or CAO, for the removal of TCE in the South Archibald Plume. There were two components of the CAO, first of which was to establish a permanent alternative water supply for those homes that were with private wells that were affected by the plume. Those homes have all been identified, and alternative water supply solutions are being implemented by the City of Ontario. Now, in response to the second requirement of the CAO, IUA agreed to implement a project that would construct a new groundwater production well, dedicated pipelines, and treatment equipment that would not only remove the TCE from the South Archibald Plume, but also provide the region with a local, high-quality drinking water supply, which is an essential component for regional water resource management. Now, the total cost of this project is estimated at $25.5 million. Thanks to diligent efforts by the project team, grant funding was secured for nearly the entire cost of the project. Approximately $23 million in federal and state funding has been secured, with the remaining project costs coming in the form of support from private industries. The collaborative nature of this project allowed for the use of some existing infrastructure, but the project will also be adding new facilities, specifically those designed to remove groundwater from the South Archibald Plume and treat it effectively to create a high-quality water supply that's both resilient to drought and is also going to reduce reliance on water sourced from Northern California. This slide describes the different components of the project that are being implemented to effectively remove TCE and treat it in the groundwater. The new production well is expected to extract up to 2,000 gallons per minute from the groundwater aquifer, which will then be conveyed by a pipeline that's dedicated to only 3 CDA wells in order to avoid potential cross-contamination with other groundwater in the system. Now, that water is going to be sent through that pipeline to the CDA's water treatment plant called the Chino II desalter in the city of Jurupa Valley, where the project will construct new treatment systems to ensure that the TCE can be removed effectively. Finally, the project is also going to install monitoring wells in different locations north of the plume. Those are going to be used on an ongoing basis in order to verify that the project is working and is effective at removing the TCE in the plume. Now, this map shows the areas where the construction will take place. The new production well will be located in Ontario, here next to the Cucamonga Creek Channel, west of Archibald, and in between Edison and Eucalyptus Avenues. The water will be pumped to the surface and conveyed via pipeline to the treatment plant, which is located in Jurupa Valley on Harrell Street, east of Wineville Avenue. Pipelines are going to be constructed in the public right-of-way through the streets shown here on the map. Now, from the production well, the new pipeline will be constructed out to Archibald, and then it'll be going along Archibald, moving south until we hit an existing pipeline along Merrill Avenue. Now, all of the dashed lines shown here are existing water pipelines, so there's not going to be any new construction along these areas here. Now, it should be noted that the new pipeline in Archibald, shown here in blue, has been constructed and is just waiting to be put into service. Now, to make sure that we have a dedicated water line for any TCE affected water, we're going to pick the new construction back up once we hit Belgrave and Hamner Avenue here. And then a new pipeline will be laid moving east, including crossing under the 15 freeway here until we hit Wineville Avenue. We then turn north up Wineville until we hit Harrell. We turn east and connect into the Chino 2 desalter facility. Now, I'd also like to point out that pipeline construction has been separated into 3 different phases, which also means 3 different contracts and 3 different schedules. The first phase is the section of pipeline traveling along Archibald Avenue, again shown here in blue, which has pretty much already been constructed. The second phase includes all of the pipeline picking up at Belgrave and Hamner, up Wineville until we hit the Chino 2 desalter facility. Contractor has just finished laying the pipeline in Harrell Street and is now moving south down Wineville Avenue. The third phase will be the connection between the pipeline at Archibald and the well itself, shown here in this purple section, which is also substantially complete. Now, I've already mentioned some of the details on the new production well, including location of the well and the anticipated pumping capacity of 2,000 gallons per minute. Once the water is pumped to the desalter 2 facility and treated, the TCE concentration will be at non-detectable levels, well below the drinking water standard. Construction on the production well is underway, and we expect the well to be operational by the end of March 2021. However, of course, many industries have seen impacts from COVID-19, and construction industry is no exception. So it's possible that the construction completion date may get pushed beyond March 2021, but as of now, this is our estimated date of operation. Now, conveying the raw water from the well site to the treatment plant in a dedicated pipeline will require roughly 4 miles of new pipe construction. I mentioned that the pipeline construction was broken out into 3 different contracts. The first and third phases, which construct the pipeline from the production well and follow down Archibald Avenue, have already been completed. The second phase, which is the longest stretch of new pipe from Belgrave and Hamner up to the desalter facility in Jurupa Valley, is expected to be completed in about February of 2021. One of the pieces of equipment responsible for removing the TCE from the raw water is shown here. This is a pack tower aeration unit. Now, in addition to these towers, though it's not shown on the slide, the affected groundwater will also be treated through a reverse osmosis process. Now, since these pack tower aeration units will have some air emissions, they will be regulated by the South Coast Air Quality Management District, or SCAQMD. All of the raw water pumped from the new production well will be directed to the reverse osmosis trains, followed by these aeration towers for treatment. The towers are designed such that the concentration of TCE in any water leaving the treatment train will be non-detectable, which will then be confirmed by regular sampling of the water prior to its distribution. Now, the final piece of the project is a network of monitoring wells that will be constructed at various locations within the South Archibald Plume. Some of the CDA's existing production wells will be used to monitor TCE concentrations in the groundwater, but this project is also going to construct 3 new monitoring wells in strategic locations that are going to ensure that we can identify the effectiveness of the cleanup project on an ongoing basis. We will also be working with City of Ontario and Chino Basin Watermaster, 2 other public agencies with TCE concentration data, to ensure that the project is capturing the full scope of TCE removal within the plume area. Now, that's all of the information that we've prepared for the workshop. We've also prepared a website, tceplumecleanup.com, that has project information in case you are interested. We would be happy to address any questions in the Q&A section. I'm not sure if we have any at the moment. I will turn it over to Cindy Miller, CDA's consultant and program manager. Cindy, do we have any questions that have come through?
Thank you, Jesse. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I do not see any questions as of yet. I think you've responded to the request we've had for the video and confirmed that we are recording this presentation. So if there are any questions, please convey them through the Q&A.
Okay, and just to add to the fact that this will be recorded, the slides will be posted on the tceplumecleanup.com website as well. So they will be accessible there.
I know we have a representative from the regional board here this evening. I don't know if Chad, if there's anything you would like to add to what we've presented this evening.
No, I don't have anything to add, Jesse. That was a great presentation, and I appreciate you taking the time to give it.
Thank you very much. And it looks like we still don't have any questions coming in. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for attending our workshop this evening. And once again, if you could please send your name, city of residence, and if you have any additional questions that might pop up after we end the workshop tonight, you can send those to info@ieua.org. And with that, I thank you all and hope everyone has a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.